Welcome to the Lion Share podcast, where we talk family, faith, football, finance, and fun. This episode brought to you by MitchLyonsWealth.com. And as always, I'm your host, Mitch Lyons. And today we have a very special guest. The Mitch Lyons Wealth family has recently gotten involved and invested in a charity near and dear to our heart, the Kirk Gibson Center. Down in Foundation, but the center that they're opening down in Farmington Hills as well. And today we have the CEO, Steve Annear, joining us. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here, Mitch, and it's just fantastic to be part of a partnership with you and your organization. And thank you for everything you're doing to help us.
Well, we're excited, and like I said all along, I mean, I grew up with Gibby as a childhood hero. Living and breathing through the Tigers rise during the '80s, and certainly with his MSU roots, there's a connection there as well. But beyond that, I've got some people that good friends that have been afflicted with Parkinson's, and and as well as my old college coach George Perlis. So it's we're really happy to be able to partner. And I guess I'll kind of introduce or the idea of how I got even introduced to you was through a friend that has gotten John Nantot, who has gotten involved with the center down there, and specifically, he reached out to me about a little fundraiser you're doing personally in the fall here. Just decided to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. But before we talk about that, Steve, because I mean, the interesting thing about that is, for those of you listening, Steve has one leg. And I'll let him tell that story, but he's climbing Mount Kilimanjaro on crutches, which is incredible. But not only that, you've run a marathon, which is just phenomenal. So I guess give us a little backstory there, Steve, just your path. Obviously, people might have noticed the Australian accent. So how did you get to where you are now?
Well, I was born with two legs and had a kind of malformation in my left leg that wasn't solvable. So after a number of operations, I had it amputated when I was 11. And so I've been on crutches for many, many years and not able to use an artificial leg. So that's very natural to me. And so, I think when you get a challenge like that as a young person, you tend to adapt to it quite quickly. And that's what I did. And my normal is walking on crutches. And my normal is doing everything that I want to do and can try to do on crutches without thinking that it is a setback
Right.
or that I'm disadvantaged in any way or disabled in any way, if you like, by the fact that I've got one leg and I'm walking on crutches. So, I've been very fortunate. I've been able to live a really full life with a wonderful family, and I've had a really wonderful career, and I think all of that comes from the mindset by which you choose to approach your life. And I'd always wanted to run a marathon. And I met Gibby in 2019, and the coming together of our friendship and then my involvement in the foundation led me to say, well, I'll combine the two. I'll do a lifelong ambition of running a marathon and raise money for the foundation at the same time. And another one of my ambitions was to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So here we go on that one.
So, just for our listeners, because I love talking about people that overcome. I mean, you're 11 years old and you found out you have to lose your leg. I mean, I imagine that day is probably pretty endeared into your brain, or not endeared. That's the wrong word, but imprinted on your brain, right? When you got that word, I guess what goes through an 11-year old's mind at that point?
Well, I think it's very easy to fall into a state of being a victim,
Hmm.
and kids are manipulative anyway. So if it might mean the next scoop of ice cream, you might want to play it up a little bit. But I had really balanced parents that weren't going to let me play any kind of card in respect to the fact that, I've been out of hospital from the time I was 4. So, that lifestyle, I still had to do my jobs at home, even if I come home from the hospital and it was a bit banged up. So I think that environment was really good. But what I found when I got involved with people or families that had gone through some sort of trauma with young kids that lost a limb, is that the family tends to overlove because you feel so bad,
Yeah.
and rightly so, and then that's a wonderful love. But that can mean there's not a balance there about just pick yourself up and get going, and it doesn't there are so many people in this world who've had it much harder than I ever have, I've actually had a very fortunate, lucky life. That's the way I see it. Even the malformation I had, it affected only my left limb. If it had affected my brain or my torso, I probably wouldn't be around here talking to you today, Mitch.
Right,
So I'm
right.
really lucky. There's many ways you can look at life. And so I think as an 11-year-old, I went through the ups and downs of an 11-year-old. But I think that my family and the structure around me was really important to staying balanced.
Yeah, so kind of suck it up, Buttercup. Yeah, it's too bad, but that's hey, that's what we have. Those are the cards we're dealt, and let's move forward.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
kind of it reminds me of somebody else that you're involved with now, a guy named Gibby, right? I mean, he kind of has that same mindset, right? And so tell us a little bit about how you went about meeting Kirk, because I think that's kind of a funny story too, honestly. You guys met on a golf course, so tell us about
Yeah,
that.
we did. It was sort of 8 o'clock in the morning. We were waiting to tee off, and we saw this guy with a bag over his shoulder running the course. He's coming up the ninth green, was a hill, and he's running up that hill, and he had a kind of different sort of a running gait. And we, standing there with my mates, we were watching this guy come up this hill, and going, have a look at that fella, and couldn't really figure it out. And so he putted out. We're still waiting, and he comes walking towards us, and someone said, "That's Kirk Gibson." Now, I'm the dumb Aussie in the group, so I got no idea, who Kirk Gibson is.
Who's that?
And yeah, one of my mates had enough guts to go up and say hello to him, and he started talking and laughing and just being Kirk. And I had to go home after that game because they're telling me he was a legend. I had to go home and Google it, and the first thing that came up was Vince, Scully's call of the Dodgers home run,
Yeah,
and it was spine tingling. And
yeah.
I was showing them my wife, I just met this guy, And the next Saturday morning, because we'd offered, he had just moved to the area, he's waiting to get into his club, and so he was coming down in the mornings and playing golf on this course, and he phoned it up next Saturday morning. We started playing golf, and he and I just became friends from that. And
So,
then I learned about his foundation from there.
yeah, so that was what year when you met him?
2019.
So
Yeah,
2019. So this is about 4 years after he's been diagnosed with Parkinson's, right?
right.
And
Yeah.
here he is running up the 18th hill up to the green. Yeah, that's what I love about him. And he's hard charging, and he's definitely got a passion for this center. So I guess from the time you got involved, I guess how did the whole thing come to be that we've got this center being built, and let's get into the details on that because it's a pretty amazing story.
Well, I think meeting him that day and then understanding more about him, just my admiration for him built. And I didn't know the baseball hero. I just saw this hero who was fighting Parkinson's himself, but also wanting to help people. And I offered to I had a bit of time on my hands, so I offered to help him in the foundation any way I could. Was waving flags or helping out at events or whatever it was. So I sat in on a few board meetings, and that led to Kirk asking me to join the board. And we started to then think about how the foundation could more directly help people in Michigan. So what was happening at that stage, we were funding other organisations and we were raising money, and it was a sort of a pass-through scheme, and that was all positive and beneficial. Kirk wanted to do more.
Right.
So we started thinking about that and looking at other models around the country. So we did the survey and a lot of research of how other people were directly helping people in their communities with movement-based and exercise-based programs, because Kirk knew that movement matters, and getting up and going and getting out of the depression and isolation and all of that, of the setback of Parkinson's, is really important to living a better quality life. So how do you channel that knowledge into helping people directly was our question. Did that research, and we found an organisation in Cleveland called In Motion, who were just exceptional at this kind of group programming, evidence-based group programming that helps people live a better life with the disease, as well as education and counselling and support.
Right. And there are organizations out there clearly that raise money for the research and trying to find a cure for
Right.
Parkinson's, right? Michael J. Fox, he's pretty, he's been around a long time and done a lot of good and raised a lot of money.
Yeah.
But this is a
Yeah.
little different, right? This is impacting people with, that have the disease, and how can we better your life? it's not something that we have a cure for. So how do you manage it? How do you mitigate the systems, and how do you elongate a life that has quality, and movement is a big part of that, right? And it's a cruel disease, but it can be some of its advancements can be offset by doing that. And the idea behind the center is to be able to offer this for free, right? People
Yeah,
can come in and use the facility. And Angela and I were down for reception recently, and I saw it firsthand, just kind of what Gibby's enthusiasm for the center can do. There was another gentleman there that has Parkinson's, and he hasn't been that involved in exercise and whatnot. And his wife was kind of needling him and telling Gibby, kind of ratting on him about how he's not. And Gibby, I mean, hey, well, you get in here. And the gentleman's voice was like, hey, we can help with that. There's stuff we can do. We can help
right.
with that pretty quickly. And by the end of the evening, Gibby had this guy kind of excited and ready to roll. And I'm guessing he's probably signed up. But let's talk
Yeah.
about that. How many people are already signed up? You're not even open yet. You're opening up in the fall, and you've already got people opened up, but or signing up for it, and volunteers too. You mentioned previously that 100 people signed up already
Yeah.
for the center, but you have 110 people signed up just to volunteer to help with the center, right? Which is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exciting. Tell us a little bit about how many people the center, just the specs on the center, square footage and all that, but how many people do you expect to be able to service on a daily basis there?
Yeah, so we found a facility in Funkton Hills that was the one that you've been to, Mitch, and it's 30,000 square feet. It used to be a corporate gymnasium, so that's perfect for us. So we're remodeling that right now.
Yep.
And it'll have five main workout areas and a spin class and a rock room and lots of fun stuff as well. So it's perfect for us. We think that we'll certainly in the first year we're gearing up to be able to cope with 60,000 class hours for the full year. So
Okay.
we've got the space to do it, we'll have the staff to do it, and we've got the programming to do it. So to think about what that programming is, it's a whole range of different types of activity. There's healing arts such as art and crafts and things that are just more social
Yeah.
and fun, all the way through to things like yoga and boxing and dance, speech therapy, which you spoke about.
Mhm.
We'll have a choir there. There'll be music therapy that strength and conditioning, cardio, all these programs will be offered. So when people go there, they'll go through an assessment, so they'll be in classes where the mobility levels and the
Right.
capacity of the people in those classes is similar to them, and so the class is then designed around their state and how they're feeling, so that people don't feel overwhelmed, but they'll also feel challenged and
Right.
be able to get a good workout. And the other
Eh,
part about it is people can stay as long as they like.
Right.
It's
Well, I talked to Gibby a little bit about that night, just the camaraderie of it, right? I mean,
yeah,
coming out of pro sports, I mean, the part, and this is, I think, to every man, woman that's ever been involved in pro sports, what you miss is the camaraderie of the locker room, right? I mean, the
yeah,
games, you remember the games, obviously, Gibby's had a couple games that, two most historic homers in history, but certainly those are great memories. But I think anybody that's been at that level misses the locker room because you can never really duplicate that, right? But this center, like I said, having a Gibby there to kind of captain it will be incredible. But uh, giving these people a chance to kind of rub elbows with other people that are dealing with the same issues, right, and not being
yeah.
embarrassed because they're affected physically and whatnot, and being able to get in there and try new things, I think I think it's amazing, and it's going to be a great thing for not only Southeast Michigan, but also, I mean, there's going to be online opportunities as well, correct?
Yeah, there will be. So people will be able to join classes. They can come and get used to the classes, and if they live too far away or it's hard to get to one, they can join an online class. And there'll be support groups there as well, not only for people with Parkinson's but their families and their loved ones to be able to learn, what it's like to deal with Parkinson's and what the road ahead probably looks like. Part of the big problem in the whole Parkinson's community is a bit of a hidden disease. So people don't understand. Firstly, people aren't open about it, and secondly, they don't understand what's going on because of the disparate information. So we want to help with the awareness of it as well. And just like Gibby's got an office. It's right in the center of it, and he'll be there lots, and he'll be in classes, and
He'll have his feet up on the desk managing the team, right?
yeah, that's exactly right.
Back to
And
the
he,
Diamondbacks.
we had our team meeting this morning, and he said to the team, his incredible team of staff and volunteers that are making all of this happen, this really ambitious project. He said, "Look, this is the most important thing I've done in my life,"
Yeah.
and that's and of all the things he's done, getting this center open is what he feels the most important thing he's ever done. So, it means a lot to all of us.
Well, and he's not a guy that historically sets his sights on something and then doesn't give a good effort to get there. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right.
I grew up, watching Gibby back in his football days at Michigan State, but the tales of Gibby behind the scenes at Michigan State were legendary, just in terms of never wanting to lose a sprint. Right? He was ticking off
Yeah,
everybody his freshman year because everybody just wanted to get through the sprints at the end of the day, not have to try to win and keep up with this freshman number 23 who's trying to win every sprint. Right? So.
right. Yeah.
He has that personality that drags people along with him. So I think that's awesome. And Steve, I mean, you are the same way, right? And I think that's probably what attracted Gibby to you. I mean, you are clearly a guy that's overcome some challenges in your life to get where you are. Let's talk a little bit more about that. That's kind of how I was introduced to you through my friend John Nanta. Raising money by deciding to climb a mountain. Wow, a guy with one leg, what all of a sudden comes in your head and says, "Yeah, I think I should climb a mountain."
You know,
How does that come to fruition?
yeah. I don't know.
Or
I
run a
just
marathon, I guess, for that. You ran the Detroit Marathon a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I just really enjoy pushing myself outside my own comfort zone. And there are things that are kind of iconic. A marathon's one of them, and a Mount Kilimanjaro is another one. So the whole thought of being able to tackle it and take it on and direct my energy and effort towards doing it I find that highly motivating. And because I know it's going to be really hard. The marathon was really hard. It was 8 hours, 47 minutes. It was, it took a while. So, but I knew it and I geared myself for that. And the same thing with Kilimanjaro. I'm going to be doing it with my wife, Shauna, which is also super special for me to be able
Yeah.
to do. And she's going to I want to be able to talk to her because apparently she's going to have headphones on listening to your playlist while she's doing it, Mitch.
I was
So,
going to make reference to that.
yeah.
Yeah, she made the mistake of hearing me sing and told my bride Angela that I have a good voice, and she was like, "No, don't pet the puppy. Don't tell him that." So yeah, I have to come up with a compilation for you guys.
But it's going to be awesome. It will be 9 days, and it's I think just a really big thing, it kind of links into this whole purpose of being able to help people.
Yeah.
And that's also highly motivating for me, that being able to be part of this foundation, and being working with someone like Kirk, that sense of purpose, is very special. And I just feel very lucky that I've landed in this orbit and been able to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's a great foundation. How can people either A, get involved, or if they have an interest in contributing financially to the endeavor, how do they best do that?
It's all on our website. So the kirkgibsonfoundation.org is our main website. You can link through to the center website, which is the kirkgibsoncenter.org. But they're similar beasts, and all the information's there, and you can track how we're going in the setup of the center. We're posting updates on that regularly, doing a lot of social media, and follow us on social media if you want to stay in touch.
Yeah, and then the foundation itself will be housed in the same facility, right? If I understood that correctly.
Yeah, that's right. So we're moving from where we are in Birmingham right now across to this
Right.
location. That'll be great. We'll all be
The
one big
foundation
team.
and leadership will be under the same roof with the center itself, which is great. Obviously, you said Kirk's got his office, and I'm sure he'll be an active participant. And it's just exciting. We're super excited to be able to help and bring awareness to it, and contribute financially to it. And I look forward to seeing you climb to the top of the world and raise that KGF banner up there. So that'll be really cool, Steve. So. I really appreciate you coming on and just kind of sharing this, and I look forward. We'll have to get Cam on at some point. Cam Gibson, who's also involved, Kirk's son, and get him on the podcast as well. So, but I appreciate your time and everything you're doing for the center and the foundation.
Yeah, likewise, Mitch. I really appreciate all the support that you brought to the foundation, and looking forward to planting the Mitch Lyons Wealth flag on top of Africa as well, mate,
That'll
and
be
celebrating
secondary.
Together.
That'll be secondary to the KGF, but yeah,
Yeah,
that'll be cool. But well, listen, folks. Thanks, Steve. Thank you again, and again, folks. If you liked this episode, like, subscribe. Again, this episode was brought to you by MitchLyonsWealth.com, and we'll see you next podcast.